Hi friends, let me share some of the important information with respect to fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is the government's spending on the various aspects, and it's all about the government's tax policies also. So important aspect in this case is this fiscal deficit. When the government is presenting the budget, they will be having one important terminology which they normally use is this fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is the indicator of the government for borrowings. So when the government is having this fiscal deficit, this indicates that the government has to depend on borrowings. As far as this Indian government is concerned, for the year 2022-23, the fiscal deficit is expected to be around 6.9% for the year 22-23. So this is slightly higher side than what it was expected at around 6.8%. So this shows that the government has to depend on borrowings. For the year 2022-23, government has to depend on the borrowings to the extent of 35% of the total receipts what this is expecting. The government proposed to spend around 39.45 lakh crore rupees for the year 2022-23, whereas the revenue expected for the same period is only 22 lakh crore rupees plus. So the difference is around 16 lakh crore rupees. So managing this 16 point something lakh crore rupees is a very difficult and challenging job to the government. So therefore this portion of 16 plus lakh crore rupees, that is 35% of the total size of the budget, has to be collected from borrowings, maybe by government securities like T-bills, bonds, etc. The challenge here is that the government has to either increase the revenue or decrease the expenses. So normally the people may ask that why can't this government spend what it receives? So for the year 2020-23, government is expected to receive only 22 lakh crore rupees. So people may ask this, why can't this government spend only that much, 22 point something lakh crore rupees? So why government is proposed to spend more amount? Here, the government's borrowings will have this less interest burden. The T-bills or the government's bonds will normally have around 4 to 5% interest rate only. And government is not just a spending, it is an investment, we can say that. So when we say this expenditure means it's an investment. The investment of the government or the expenditure of the government spreads for several years. So this gives benefits to the country for a longer period of time. So therefore government has to present the budget as a fiscal deficit only. That's a deficit budget, we can say that. And government will also have some important aspects also where this government has to increase the revenue by imposing the tax. So for the year 2022-23, this government has not changed any tax slabs as far as this income tax is concerned. And GST as it is usual, so the GST council is there and this is taking care of this government tax slabs and other things also. And the important area what we have to understand is this government's effort has continuously on for increasing the tax base. So we have seen that in the January 2022, the government has collected 1.47 lakh crore rupees tax GST only for a single month. And this has been continuously observed that around 1 lakh crore rupees on an average, the amount of GST is being collected. And out of the total receipts, 46% of the total amount is being collected from GST, corporate tax and the income tax. So major amount is there, and another around few percentage will be collected from the non-tax revenue and other things. So this is there. So in order to avoid or reduce this burden of this deficit, the government has to increase the revenue by way of the tax base. I am not proposing to increase the tax rate, but proposing to increase the tax base. Number of tax base should be increased. So therefore government is proposing to introduce more and more of these digital transactions. So we have seen for the last few years from the year 2014-15 onwards, this is maybe because of this demonetization on GST or even this pandemic in the year 2019, 20, 21. The digital transactions have been continuously increasing. So this is the good sign for the government that whenever these digital transactions are increasing, the amount will be deposited in the banks. So when the amount is there in the bank means this is the white money, and the government will also have this calculation of the total amount of the persons, how much they earn, how much they spend, or how much income they may earn also, and even the interest. So therefore, when we are going for this digital transactions, white money will be there, and the government has to collect transaction cost, transaction taxations and other aspects on the digital currencies. So therefore, government is proposing more of these digital transactions. And even this government is also thinking to open this digital university. People sitting in the home, sitting in the different locations, they can study, pursue their degrees from the digital university. And once this digital university is being started in India, so people looking at this university will be different, and digital transactions will be also increased. So this is the very important the decision this government is taking to increase the tax base. So another is to reduce the expenses. Reducing expenses may be difficult, but there are some of the unproductive expenses which have been introduced for last many years. Let us not say that it is unproductive, but it is based on the requirement this government is spending. We can say subsidies. Subsidies on various aspects. Subsidies may be on the agricultural products like minimum support price is there, then subsidy on the agricultural related with chemicals and fertilizers, then subsidy on interest, then subsidy on even the other aspects also. So reducing or avoiding subsidy may be difficult for the time being, but to a certain extent it can come down. And even we have not seen this government proposing to waive off the farmers' loans. So this was not happened for last many years. So this may be the good sign or bad sign, that is a different story, but we have to understand this government is keen in decreasing the expenses. The burden of pension has come down drastically from 7% to 4 to 5% for the year 22-23, and similarly subsidies amount has come down drastically by 27%. So this will further come down. The intention of government reducing this subsidy on fertilizers and chemical is to promote the chemical free farming, that's organic farming. So this may be the one reason. Another reason is just to avoid this part of expenses also. So like that, there are so many other expenses which may not produce the things also. So one more important point you have to understand this: many people are telling this government has been earmarking huge money for the defense. So this is the required thing actually. Earmarking money for the defense is a need of hour now. Security reason is one. And for the year 2022-23, 5.27 lakh crore rupees is earmarked for the defense. And as far as this government schemes are concerned, government plannings are concerned, and Atmanirbhar Bharat is again the important aspect which this government has introduced. And that scheme, majority of the defense materials are being produced in India. And out of the total amount which is earmarked for this defense has been spent, 60% of the total amount which is earmarked for this defense has been spent for purchasing materials from the Indian market. So this has two important advantages. One is that you are purchasing materials from the Indian company, and Indian companies are gaining profit, and this leads to this increasing the GDP or the national income or the employment rates. Another is when the government is spending money for purchasing from the domestic market, thus to the same extent amount is saved in terms of this forex reserves. The valuable forex reserve has to be saved. So earlier we used to spend this entire amount of this money for importing goods from the other countries. For last few years we are producing goods in India, and the same amount is again spent here only, and to that extent the forex reserves are saved. So therefore government has been trying to decrease the deficit. and increasing the productivity, increasing the income, increasing this employment opportunities, and increasing so many things. By the same time, decreasing these expenses in the different terminologies also. So maybe by another 2 to 3 years, by 24-25, the fiscal deficit may come down by another 2%. So it may be around 4 to 5% by 24-25. 2024-25, we can see this. So this is the announcement which has been made by the finance minister in the recent budget. So this is with respect to this fiscal policy, fiscal deficit, and government spending on the various aspects. Thanks for watching.